Choice 2, 26th of June, third lesson.
Right, guys.
Action.
Let's go. Sitting down, being quiet, focused.
Brain. And we've sliced it like through this.
This is very important.
So this is.
I'm just going to go back a millisecond. Just make sure that you get the whole thing.
Brain. And we've sliced it like through this way. And so this is called a coronal or frontal section. And I'm going to rest it here so that you can see the internal structure of the brain. We'll deal with these in more detail, but right now you can see that those gyri that we were looking at and the sulci, the dips in between, can be easily distinguished. And the gyri are covered with a nice layer, beige in color, and that is your gray matter, as we say, of the cerebral cortex. Maybe we should have called it beige matter. And beneath it is a lighter area, which we call the white matter. In general, gray matter consists of cell bodies, both neurons and glia, and white matter are axons. Axons are the processes of neurons either coming to the cerebral cortex or leaving the cerebral cortex and descending to lower brain structures. An example of white matter here is this band of fibers called the corpus callosum. It was that band that held the two hemispheres together. When we were looking down through that interhemispheric fissure, the base of that was this band of white matter connecting similar areas or homotopic areas of one hemisphere with the other. And this is a way that the right and the left hemispheres can communicate. In addition, they can communicate through structures like this deep area. You notice it's beige, so it's mainly cell bodies. A deep structure called the thalamus. And here we can see the temporal lobe that we were looking at on the surface. Notice here, if I crop this up and pull it down a little bit, you can see that large lateral fissure that we saw on the lateral surface. That means that this is the temporal lobe. You can even see a blood vessel in there. This bit of cortex buried underneath the hemispheric, temporal, and parietal lobes is the insula. We're not going to deal with that, but it does have a name. It's where the cortex got buried as it became more and more convoluted. This is parietal, or it could be motor cortex. Can't tell for the isolated section exactly if you're in the frontal lobe or the parietal lobe. It doesn't really matter. And remember, I told you that one of the functions of the temporal lobe, in addition to the auditory region, was an area involved in memory. That area is called the hippocampus, and it's curled up here right in this medial part of the temporal lobe. The other major structure you see in a cross-section like this, or a coronal section, are these holes in the brain. One here, one here, one here, a little bitty one here, and here. These form part of the ventricle system, which we will explore further, but right now just know that they're filled with cerebral spinal fluid. And the leptomeninges, or the pia and the arachnoid, on the surface, if we can zoom in a little bit, we can see them delicately covering the surface of the brain. The main thing I want you to see on this brain is the brainstem. So this is the cerebellum that we saw before out to the side, and the brainstem, recall, was in the middle. Here we have the brainstem on a mid-sagittal. This is cut in the middle. So this is a mid-sagittal section. Here's a bit of the medulla. Here is the pons, with a big basilar artery creeping up over it. And here is the midbrain, often hard to see. And finally, then we have deep structures such as the thalamus. And we can see many of the vessels like the anterior cerebral artery here, as well as spaces such as the ventricular system, which we'll look at in more detail.
Okay. Yo, chop.
We're done. I started. End of grade 11 choice 2, last lesson, 26 June. Cut.